I mean, the title of the course of tonight was just a quantum shift in consciousness, something that we don't appear to have any control over, but to extricate ourselves from the bigger hole people are digging at the moment. I sometimes think that it's going to be the only way to escape this particular drama, in this particular story. So many people are taking it so seriously, whether they're forced by rules and regulations or by their neighbour pointing the finger at them. And so human nature being what it is, still pretty much a herd animal, people tend to go with the collective consciousness rather than make their own mind up. And even if they do try and make their own mind up within the bigger reality, it becomes really challenging to do so. So we spoke a lot about this last night in our space clearing work, because in many ways the work is similar, whether we're trying to step outside of an old pattern, old conditioning, and how we go about it. And this is the issue for most people, I think. How do we break free from conditioning that we've been identifying with for possibly millennia, certainly this lifetime, probably longer? It's a bit of a challenge. I have reached whatever stage it is that I've reached, and I have no idea what that is anymore. But I've got where I am through over 30 years of very intense practice, where I've been working with people and with the environment as a consultant, thousands of cases over the years, plus taught thousands of workshops all around the world. And so my life has been dedicated in great part to noticing what the body experiences in certain situations, and then through the practice of not giving it any more energy, not buying into it, not feeding the drama. And as a result, my perceptions have to change. They can't stay the same. My reality seems to change as well, quite dramatically. And the path that I find myself on now is quite different to the path I believed I was on when I first began. Now, I don't expect anybody else to devote their life to the same degree I did to this path. So your ability to notice and let go is going to depend very much on basically who you are at the moment, how your system responds, reacts, how interested you are in this subject, how much time you devote to it. And these are not things that you necessarily have much control over at the moment. We're all victims to past conditioning, and we play out that past conditioning, which is why no one can really be blamed for what they've done in the past if they were asleep when they did it. And most people, to some degree or other, are asleep. It's only as you become more conscious, more aware, and more awake do you become more responsible. But of course, then you're guided by a different set of rules that when you follow, the conflict cannot be a part of that future. And so you don't create a world of conflict. You don't have to deal with conflict because it no longer shows up. These are all things that only become really, really obvious with lots and lots of practice. So we'll combine tonight the subject matter, and I would like to open it up to everybody who has thoughts on the subject. But we'll also do a bit of clearing around things as well. So my current understanding of what's involved in a quantum shift of consciousness, basically it's where there's a radical change in the consciousness of the collective. And this occurs, what Michael Gladwell wrote about in his book, a tipping point, where the awareness reaches a certain level and then it cascades through greater awareness. There's a lot of stuff being done on this already, of course. The Maharishi effect, when you get a group of people all focused and meditating, doing whatever, where they change the energy of their local environment. Apparently, I was told recently as well that where you have the helium gas, a large area of helium gas, and you freeze it to some ridiculously below whatever temperature, then the gas becomes a solid. Then one molecule in that collective changes, and immediately all others change. So in a sense, that's what we're talking about here when we're looking at quantum shifting consciousness. It's where, and I've spoken about this many, many times in space clearing, it's where one person has a different input into the collective consciousness, and that different input changes considerable number of other points of view. It doesn't take much energy at all, if any, to hold a space of a compassionate heart, but it takes a lot of energy to continue to maintain a state of chaos. The compassionate heart will collapse the chaos, which is obviously what we try and do when we're space clearing. We go in and we experience chaos according to our interpretation, our understanding, our physiology of what chaos means. And then to the degree we can embrace that waveform of chaos and collapse it is a reflection of how compassionate we are. No blame, no judgment, no identification, the usual story, with the energy in space. So our goal would be to be as compassionate as possible in all circumstances, no exceptions, to allow the waveform of chaos, no matter where it arises, no matter what it consists of, to collapse. I suspect what prevents or what slows down or what holds people back from any quantum shift is the low energies, the low frequencies of fear. We can see that in the environment. When we encounter fearful energy, it's a very low frequency, it's very heavy, very dense, and it doesn't allow in that particular environment any great awareness, because people's fears are triggered by the energy in space, basically because they don't understand it, they don't realize what it is, what's going on. They just notice it feels really uncomfortable, very fearful. Their body automatically reacts by producing lots of chemicals associated with fear, and we are again limited in our ability to be available. So through clearing, one of the tasks would be to slowly begin to experience different phenomena. Basically, different phenomena is just a frequency, a pattern, a collection of frequencies that we connect to. And through understanding what we're connecting to, we can embrace that particular frequency. We don't have to be afraid of it. We don't have to shut it out. We don't have to deny it. We don't have to do anything with it. We just notice it and it's okay. And so for those of you who've been practicing clearing for a while, you'll notice this is fundamentally what we do with all information. To the best of our ability, at any given point in time, we notice phenomena and we understand what's going on with that phenomena. Whereas previously, prior to clearing or whatever other practice you've been involved in, you would notice or fail to notice very often what's going on in the environment. Your body would react without awareness based on its conditioning, which very often includes a lot of insecurity, and you become unable to support change in that environment on that particular level. So we try and use the approach of clearing as a means to better understand what's happening to the body, why it's happening, where the particular feeling originates, although that ultimately is not really important, where the feeling originates and why the body does what it does. And we recognize that the feelings that the body experiences during any space clearing consult are not belonging to the body. It's simply how the body is responding or reacting to external phenomena. And understanding that, we don't have to buy into it. We don't have to take it seriously. We don't take it personally. We don't take it home with us. We simply say, this is the feeling of. Yay, what's next? And we continue to work through all information that we encounter using that same understanding. This is how we come out of fear. We don't have to confront our fears head on. We don't have to try and imagine what they are and put ourselves into fearful situations. The body will naturally gravitate towards situations where you get triggered without you going looking for it. We don't need to do that. We simply practice with all phenomena. So what we're actually doing is changing the neurological connections in the brain so that when we're triggered, no matter what we're triggered by, whether it leads to fear chemicals, anxiety, or euphoria even, we don't take it personally. And if we continue to practice not taking it personally, then that which we believed we were afraid of at one point in time will just cease showing up. It will no longer be an issue. We don't have to confront it because it's not real. When we can change the fundamental programming, then we change the body's response reaction, but we also change the transmission, the projection that we are constantly putting out, which very often leads to concern, anxiety, frustration, impatience, depression, anger, all of these expressions of self, which are all valid, of course. The self should be able to experience all of these, but they're all low frequency, low energy, and they keep us locked into that low energy state. Pretty simple. And of course, the more you practice, the simpler it becomes and the more obvious it becomes. But if you don't practice very often, this is just a load of rubbish. It doesn't mean anything. No real value. But obviously, the more you practice, the more value arises.